Here. Welcome back to Super Sentai / Kamen Rider Review, special number 3. Yeah, I got two big things to discuss this one. So, the thing with this particular one, this is actually one of these movie combiner specials. Well, we'll talk about that, and of course the Saber plus Zenkaiger it's Commemorative Saber plus Kaiju Sentai Zenkaiger Superhero Sekai. So, basically, the special itself is quite interesting. So, in the past, basically, this is the third one I've seen that they've done this, where the first two of these combined specials were basically just a 45-minute special, which was a cross between the current Sentai series and the Commemorative series. The first one, now I've only seen this Sentai stuff. I've seen a little bit of the Kamen stuff for some of these ones. The first one was for Tokuger and Kamen Gum, which Gum is going to be coming up soon. Not immediately per se, but it's on high on my list. The second one they did was Ninjanger and Kamen Drive. And then for some weird reason, I have no idea why I did this. With the third and fourth one of these combiner specials, they took one episode from each show. In the case of Zoolger, it was like Zoolger. I look up on here for this one. I remember it was Zoolger and Ghost. I remember that. Zoolger was the 4th anniversary of Sentai, and I think it was like the 45th anniversary of, well, close to the same period of time. Let's see if I can find it here. Okay, this will be something here. So, basically, yeah, it was Crossover Commander Ghost, where, here's what they did. So, for this big special they did, it was a crossover between Zoolger Episode 7 and Episode 24 of Ghost. Yes, it was the second one they ever did. And then the next one they did was between Kyroger, Q-Ranger, and X8. Yeah, this one. Yeah, this one, like in the case of. Now, this particular one, which is like this one was episode 7 of Q-Ranger and episode 24 of X8. And then, this was kind of weird. So, each one of these combiner specials mostly put like to something. The first one they ever did with these, well, I thought was basically it. So, the first one was between Shurikenger and Decade, which that involved 2 episodes of Shurikenger and 2 episodes of Decade, which was a quite interesting one. And then we had Go Busters versus Gav. This was, of course, the second Gavin. Though, you might think did Shurikenger and Decade lead to something? Well, that planted seeds for Superhero Tyson. Yep. At least the idea of it, anyways. The Go Busters versus Gavin. This basically was basically a backdoor pilot to Spaceship Gavin, the movie. Tokuger versus Gem. This was actually a setup for the Kamen Showa Rider versus Heisei Rider Tension movie. You're like, okay, interesting. They did one also with Gaim and Zenkaiger, which I have not seen this one yet. which that one was basically a prologue to. Of course, I haven't seen the movie yet, so I can't exactly say anything about this much about this one. So, and then of course afterwards it was a Ninja versus Drive one, which this led into. I think this was like the. I think it was the fourth Tenchi movie. Yeah, this led to Superior Tyson GP Commemorative 3, which was a very interesting movie, though I have read that there's actually one character, his involvement in this movie has been deemed non-canon because of the 20 because there's elements of the movie that have been deemed non-canon. And then after this one we had Ninja versus Jiraiya. This was a one-shot guest star appearance, which was simply put, just a return of the character. It didn't really lead. Unlike the other ones, which led to something. This is one that led to, believe it or not, nothing. Yeah, it was just a quick guest star appearance on this one. Yeah, this pretty much led. It was the only one of these crossovers. If I could tell. You have to watch it. The other one I haven't seen is Zenkaiger. But this is the only one that did not lead to anything. Zenkaiger versus Ghost. This one, I haven't seen the movie this led into, but apparently this was a lead into the movie Commander 1. I parsed some of the movie, but I figured, save it for Ghost. Yeah. And you're like, not a tension movie, but led into another Kamen movie? Okay. Kyoji vs. XA led to Chao Superior Tension, which was, I think, like the last one they did for the Tice movies. Yes. Yeah, I think this was the last. Yeah, this led to the last of the Tice movies. Mm-hmm. This one was all about game stuff, per se. Yeah. Now, why they stop after this one? I'm guessing because it was getting kind of tiring out with these Tice movies. The first two. Now, I liked the first one. It had issues, yes. Second was amazing. I actually enjoyed third one. But there was one aspect I do agree to criticism of. The GP movie, that movie was a lot of fun. The Child Super Tension, this was just. The ending of this one led to a miniseries. One of two. Yes. It's like a movie set up for another miniseries. For GP Commander 3, that led to a miniseries. Child Tension, that led to a miniseries. The first three didn't lead to anything. It just basically, that was the big event. It's like the last two were sort of for. I'm guessing probably the reason why they stopped doing these crossovers, and this is my personal guess, is probably because, well, in the case of Tice movies, they probably weren't selling well at the box office. That's probably the reason for it. Then we have Q Ranger versus Spaceship Gavin. This led to an awesome movie, which was Gavin versus Deca Ranger. This was awesome. I love this one. And here was the thing. This was the last crossover they did for 3 years. And you're probably thinking, why in the world did they decided not to do another one after this? This was completely baffling. I do not know why they waited 3 years to do another one, but they did. And then we have this one. So for this particular one, the final of the Combiner specials, yeah, they never did any more after this. Yes. Where the story of the first part, here's the thing with the first part, it's from Saber, but it's not an episode from the show. And you're like, really? It's not an episode from the show? Yeah, this was the first and only time this ever happened, from what I can tell, where it's a special episode where you just have just the cast of Saber doing their whole thing, and then Zoc shows up, and of course there's also Orihime World, and the whole thing is about kidnapping, like various people. Well, actually, just doing stuff with this one. The whole thing is about granting wishes. Yes, wishes. Which, of course, at one point, Saber wishes they're trying to disappear. But luckily enough, Mia, who was basically there, yeah, she's a supporting character from Saber. So Saber is one I've been interested in. Basically, even with this one, I'm very interested in watching Saber. Yeah. So Saber was actually the second Reiwa series. Yes, it was. Its theme is swords, knights, and books. I like the look of sword. This is actually my first exposure to Kamen Sword aside from a picture. Yes. And we have many, many writers who paint this one. Oh yes, definitely. So we have our main writer. His name is Toyama, who is a writer. Yes, he's a novelist. You're like, okay, interesting. There's also Rintaro Shido, who actually becomes a primary player in the movie. Yes. Mi Soto, which of course she is a very important character. Yeah, she's basically Toyoma's editor. Very pretty woman. In fact, she's even complimented about being very pretty. I remember seeing a special about that. Yeah. So, and there's also Kento Fuyama. Yeah, he's known as the Thunder. He's tries to come Espada. Okay. Then you have the Shoei siblings, Ryoka, who is complimented in a following story, her being cool, which even her brother can agree to that. Oh yes. But she also is very pretty. Her actress is currently 29. You're like, wow. Oh yeah, I'll get to that. That's something. So, her brother Ryoga, who is very protective of his sister. Yeah, it's like basically the way she's written here is that she has a brother complex. It's like she gets jealous of any woman who dare touches her brother. Or anybody touches her brother. I'm like, is there incest in here? It's really weird. There's also a woman named Sophia, who is actually pretty much kind of in a way the mentor of the team. Yes. Her actress is only 45, but she looks... Despite the fact that the show itself only came out 5 years, she's really... And this one was only 40 when she did the show. Yes, 40 years old. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, most of what you here do a little about stories, and then of course Zoc shows up here with Orihime World. There's another world monster who's very similar to this one. Mm-hmm. And all granting wishes per se. Get this. So Orihime World was voiced by the one who voiced Engine Baraka from Goanger. Mm-hmm. Yes. So that directly having Zox basically, well, because made the whole book disappear. Eventually, thanks to me, they're able to get their books back and they transform to fight Orihime World. And of course, Zox like, can I just beat her? Sure, no problem, because we can't do because our book disappear, we can't transform. So eventually they do transform and they do the Orihime World. So Zock's like, I'm gonna take a souvenir. Gives basically gives Ryoki a hug and steals his book, which was on Transform. So then, of course, the siblings follow him back to Zenkaiger, where basically it's like, give him my book. I'm gonna fight you for my book. And of course, basically, yeah, this of course as well. This leads into episode 20 of Zenkaiger, and this was very cool. So it's like, yeah, let's debut these brand new gears. Yeah, known as the Commodore gears, which they're purple and not purple. They're green. Yeah, and the ones they selected here were interesting to say the least. As for the reason why they chose these ones, it's not very clear. And the number of these ones are quite interesting. I'll get to the reason for that. So they fight basically Hayabashi World, who's similar to Orihime World. Yeah, and someone did point this out, but by looking at this monster, it's just the same suit just reused. Same voice actor, and they do in fact have a transformation sequence here, and the gears themselves, so I think it was, let's see, Golden used one, so I remember Kaito used one, Jiron, and Veron the one, I think Majin used one, so Kaito, he ended up using the one for, if I can find it here. Oh, by the way, they do debut in episode 20. They do debut, actually, at 19, debut that one there. I'll get to that. So, here's that gear. So, the three gears they have here, they have Zio, yes, 01, and Saber. Now, on these gears, now, Zio is referred to on the number 20, and then 01 is basically 01, and then Saber 02. Now, unlike in the case of Sentai, basically, unlike with numbers without one, they don't reset, Kamen did. From what I can tell. Now, 20, that's a representation of the fact it was the 20th Heisei series. 01 basically was the first of the Reiwa era, and Saber was the second one. So, Zio basically about time travel, because basically, from what I read, it deals with a lot of time travel with that one. 01 basically summons the grasshopper thing, and Saber just summons the sword from the show, and of course, basically, where the sister of the duo, where she's working with Majin, and apparently by the end of it, this was kind of weird. I'll take it that minute. So, pretty much, basically, it's like, yeah, and of course, at one point they're kidnapped, and eventually they work to get freed and beat the monster. And this is where they come. Oh yeah, the sister is cool. And then Majin gets a hug from Rika. Yeah, apparently. So if one read, the actress is a big fan of this character. She loves Zenkaiger. She's a big fan of the series. So her hugging basically hugging this character, that's actually the actress hugging her because she loves this character so much. And then of course Zox takes back to the world because of course he would. And this ending leads into a statue being revealed. And you're like, wait a minute. Well, they kind of show this off at the end of the Saber part. Yes. So what's a statue that debuted here? known as Adamidius, who is pretty much basically the main villain of the movie. Well, known as Saber plus Zenkaiger Superhero Sekai, where the whole thing is like, yeah, he elects all these books, and these locked up books are, get this, stories on all the Kamen Rider series and every single Super Sentai series. And they have one book end up in the world of Zenkaiger and one end up in Saber. So in Saber, I think it was May, Saber himself, and Rentaro get transported to the world of Zenkaiger, where like most of the Zenkaigers and society is basically brought along too with this, where with the exception of Jiron, they're transported over there, and they kind of swap places for a bit, and then they're transported someplace else at the battling. And of course, we have like a new monster appear here in this movie. Yeah, they do have like 2 original monsters. That's better. Let's see if we can find it here. Let's see if I can find the monsters here. So it's Sentai Majin, basically, who's a monster created from Saber. Yeah, he's a Zenkai themed monster. Though he kind of looks like a little bit of. I look at the monster himself. He kind of looks like, from what I've seen pictures of, the another writers from Zio. So, and then of course, basically, I think it's so they're like 2 separate teams. So, and then they meet up with this kid in the movie named Shintaro, which, who this person is, they actually reveal this at the end of the movie. You're like, what? Who this person is quite shocking. Like, this kid has got the power of his pen to basically block an attack from a monster. Which is like, that's interesting. Yes. So, and I think it was Zenkai. I think it was Kaito, Toyama. I think it was May. I think it was. Yeah, I think it was May. And they're in Journey to the West. And get this, there's this character called the Overlord, and it's Kamen Rider Zio. I only know about who this writer is because I've seen a picture of this particular guy. This first I've ever seen him in motion. Though apparently this is his golden form. So then they're doing Journey to the West, where then they run into the engine from Den-O. I mean, I know who these guys are because I've seen their other appearances. So I know I haven't watched Den-O. Den-O is coming up really soon. Don't worry about that because I'm really interested in Den-O. So I was very happy to see him. Surprisingly, the guy originally is Den-O. He is not here. Why is he not here is a complete mystery. Momotaro himself, basically, who is the red Den-O, he does transform because he's actually the only engine who actually does transform. I'm guessing the reason why because they had his suit available but not the other ones. So, and plus also, when you look up Den-O, that's the default suit that comes up. So, they find other like grunts from a series, like they find the Nishi Company, the grunts from Loop Ranger versus Panther Ranger. Then we have the 8 Swordsmen, where you have Jurin. I think it was like a couple of members of Zenkaiger. Oh, by the way, actually it was Rentaro was with them. It's Rentaro. Yeah, no, Rentaro. And of course they introduced, oh yeah, I'm Kamen Rider Den-O. Well, we're Kamen Rider Den-O. Yes. So, first time that he's met other Kamen Riders. And then, of course, they go into the forest, where, let's see, in the forest, it was basically mostly the desert for a while. Of course, they ride, they basically summoned the Denner Liner, which, great to see this thing again, which, every time the cast of Den-O shows up, this liner shows up, it's a prerequisite. Because the first time I ever saw this train, what was in the very first Tyson movie. And You know the weird thing about this cast is they still have never interacted with the cast of ToQger. Never have. The reason? Do not know the reason for this. It is weird. You would think that Momotaro would say, hey, that's my gimmick with the train thing. Yes, I would think they would, but so far that has never happened. Does anyone find that kind of weird? The fact that both these two series, now, I think that ToQger debuted, I think it was like 20, let's see. Gokaiger was 2011. Yeah, it was 2011 for Gokaiger. Go Busters was 2012. 2013 was Kiroja. I think it was 2014. Deno debuted in 2007. There's a 7-year difference between two of them. And, by the way, next year is 20 years of Deno. They released the logo for it already, which is really cool that they did. So, actually it was Rintaro here because basically Saber's with the other group. So, you have Jiren, Saber, I'm trying to remember who else is here. So it's basically Toma, Jiren, Mei, and Sentaro. Kaito and Rintaro are on Journey to the West with the cast Deno. So, and then, all about the seven, I think it was like the 8 swordsmen, and like, oh yeah, he's in Reddit, so, and then they enter this village of Edo, this is basically this feudal Japan era village, were attacked by more grunts from previous Sentai series, and then, just by sheer coincidence, and this was really odd, so in this village, they run into Doggy Kruger from Deca Ranger, yes, but also Wasa Pink and Rio Commander from Q Ranger, who are posing as grandpa and granddaughter, and then they go in the forest, where they run into more familiar characters. Now, in the case of Deca Master himself, I think this was his first appearance that he's made since, let me look up on here, because it probably had been a while, not too long per se, with him. Let's see if I can find his, let's see. What was his most recent appearance prior to this movie? He had previously appeared in the 4-week continuous Super Strong Sentai Strongest Battle, which was in there for a couple episodes. After this movie, he's actually seen in, like, a few other movies, which I have seen the few movies that I've seen. There was a 21st movie which I have seen, Kyoto in Space, which was awesome. Decorations 100 which I have seen. So I technically have like one more appearance for him left. You're thinking, what's left? And that's Zenkaiger versus Kamen versus Senpaiger. Yes. And then in the forest, they run into Senjaro from Kira Major, which this is the first time at this point he's been seen since the end of Kira Major, and Chikai from Samurai. Well, basically, yeah, from Shuriken. I think this was his first appearance he made, like, in person since the team-up movie they did with Shurikenger. Well, they did, okay, so he actually last appeared in the 199 battle. That was last time he appeared. Which, I found it interesting that he appeared in that movie. And then, that came out in 2011. This is his first appearance he's made in 10 years. You're like, really? That's interesting. You're probably like, that is quite something. Yeah, because but it's like, yeah, the actor himself only appears like, this is only like his second return he's made since the team movie he did with Goseiger. Yeah, so he appeared in the movie, and then of course he did the movie 10 years later, and that's the last to see of him. Yeah, so they're like, yeah, we need swordsmen, and of course they work together, obviously, and then of course they obviously Western Pink and Red Commander, And they have their swordsman. Yep. Yeah, and Shintaro basically is drawing heroes, though he's doubting himself, like, oh, this may not be the one he's wanting. Oh, by the way, in the forest, before they run into the air 2, actually it was after where they confront a bunch of grunts. And then, out of nowhere, 01 pops up, and he has a team moment with Saber, which there's actually behind the scenes reason for this. So the interaction these two have here is first time these two ever interacted, and there's a reason for that. Because from what I read, there actually was a planned Movie Wars movie planned for 2020. Well, basically for Saber teaming up with 01. That didn't happen because of COVID. Yeah, it's nice to see 01 here. And he is by far the most recent actor to appear. Now, I think it's really cool that he appears here, yes. Weirdly enough, now his final appearance was actually in one of his own movies. But this was probably the first time he appeared since that movie, since Vulcan and Valkyrie, which was released in 2021. This movie itself was released, I think, the same year. Right? Yes, so this was released prior to that. So, could this be before those two movies? Well, it's kind of weird. And then later on, they meet up with Zio. And of course, basically, you have Otto doing a fist bump with him. And you're like, they're from two different universes. How the heck do you two know each other? Well, it could be that this Otto may not be the one from the main series. This may be the one from Rare Regenerations, which I haven't seen yet. And that's how these two know each other. And we have them all disappearing. Except for Shintaro, because basically Shintaro loses faith in the hero, so he tears up his drawings. So then all the heroes disappear, except for Shintaro. He's the only one who doesn't disappear. So then, of course, basically he does convince Shintaro to actually draw again, to draw heroes. And then, of course, the heroes, and then, of course, we return to the Crisis Fortress. Yes, seeing this damn thing. First time it's appeared since... I think the last time it appeared was probably I think it was the first Tension movie, if I'm not mistaken. I think it was the last time that appeared. And that was back in 2013. That was the last time it appeared. So, it had various other villain ships attacking the city. And everyone's like, all the heroes are gone. They're wiped out of this story. And then Shintaro like, not really. And then he summons two drawings. In his right hand, it's Kamen 1, Hongo, and in the other hand, it's Go Ranger. And then here comes both of them just jumping to the screen. And by the way, in the case of Kamen 1, it's the actor who does reprise this role. In his final time he does it. I'll get back to that. And then, of course, more Sentai. And apparently for the Sentai, they don't have the whole teams here. Maybe because they couldn't get all the suits for some reason. I'm not sure why. Pretty much, it's the same thing they did with the All Sentai Rally, Red Ranger Rally, where they summoned all the previous Red Rangers. This is kind of the same thing, where they summon all the Red Rangers. And the Kamen Riders, they pretty much summon all of them. But, not for the Heisei Raiders, none of the secondary Raiders are here. None of them are here. Which I find that kind of weird. So if we think about it, the only Heisei era writer who does return here is Zio. He's the only one who returns. Of course, for real, we have 01, obviously. He's the one from his show does return. And then we have Massive Brawl. We have all the interactions of all the various heroes, but that was really cool. Weird enough, the one interaction that does not happen here, Jiron and Goki, because these look very similar. There's no interaction with them. It's the same thing with, it's also the same thing with the Bokenja Red Ranger. He does not interact with Vroom, who basically looks like his old mech. Magi Red does not interact with Magia. And same thing with Garon. He does not interact with Gal Red. There's no interaction at all. Which I would have thought this would be perfect for that, given the fact that a lot of these characters, this would be their final appearance. Like, if you think about it, like let's say Aka Ranger, the original Red Ranger. This is his final appearance. Spader Ace, so the actor himself, is not here. Yeah, the last time the actor played him was actually in the T movie. This would be his final appearance. Yes. Battle of Japan. Yeah, pretty much all of these Red Rangers, a lot of them anyways, this will be their final appearance. I'm looking basically right now to see if any return after this. I mean, so far, this movie, no, in the case of Ego, this was the second one, not the original. The original left the show. So they brought him back here. So Go-Go Red, his final appearance. Dyna Red. Pretty much every single Red Ranger, with the exception of like one or two, this would be who returned for this movie. This would be their final appearance. Mm-hmm. And I like it right now because I think pretty much every single one of these ones, Decker Red, he actually is the only one who actually does return after this. Yeah, his next appearance after this movie would actually be in, well, if you see him, in the 20th anniversary special. That's the next time you see him. So he definitely does return. Magi Red, this is his most recent appearance date. So, Sekai Green, basically Chucky. Yeah, this is his final appearance. Color Blue, not his final appearance, because he's returning after this. So, and then of course, basically, all of the, so, after all of that guy is defeated, and then of course, it discovers Shintaro is Shintaro Ishimori, the creator of the entire, both franchises, Sentai and Kamen. That's who this kid is. And I'm like, wow, what a very interesting way to basically celebrate the anniversary of both these franchises. Though basically he is a original character. He's based upon the real life person, which got praise him for that. He's played with Fukusaki, who has done the work before. Yes. For TV, basically, he was in O's. He is actually coming to Zen. Zen from Commander Geats, which I've heard. This actually is, aside from 01 and Saber, Geats I've heard is a very popular one. Mm-hmm. And of course, yeah, he'll go to Ishimori village. And then you have this really, like, fourth wall breaking moment where you have Hongo come up to Shotaro is like, Sensei, is that you? And he's basically looking at him like, oh, I must be dead, because this is from the past. And great interact. I'm sure the actor who played Hongo probably knew Shotaro was alive, so I thought this was a great moment for him to basically appear in the scene here. And he's the only Showa era writer to appear in the scene. Because, of course, Stronger is not here because he died 9 years prior to this, so he is not here. Riderman died in 1986. But the other one's not really clear why they're not here. I mean, X is still very much alive. His actor is still alive. Everyone else is very alive. Amazon, for some reason, his actor's never been asked to return after Stronger wrapped up. Yeah, I've never heard of the explanation for that. But this movie overall was fantastic. And of course, basically, everybody turned back normal. All the villains return here. From Shocker, it's Agumon, Great Leader. Yeah, this was his final appearance. Pretty much everybody else previously was his final appearance. Space Shocker, Spaceman, Spider. Yeah, but pretty much basically it was well, it's basically Man Spider from the original series. It's basically a devil with no chakra, it's baffled, but Crisis Empire is the Crisis Fortress. Yeah, the Fortress. From Gamma, it was. So Gamma, that has a villain from Ghost. Downfall, who was a Phantom from Commemorative Build. Magin, which I think was one of the villains from Saber. And of course, my baseball mask. Yes, they keep bringing back. Yeah, of all of the villains from Gold Ranger, all the monsters, this is the most frequent monster brought back. And this is his final appearance. For Zenkaiger, the Zenkaiger battleship, Death Galleon, the Triangler, basically their ships. The Dark Matter, pretty much a lot of their villains. Several basically monsters. From Ganglar, it's one of the. It was the guy who appeared in the Ryu Soldier vs. Little Ranger movie, making a one-off return here. They apparently brought Dark Hammer. Got pretty much a lot of characters. All these foot soldiers. Great. And of course, then we have this new book pops up here at the end, which turns out, get this, it is a sneak preview of it's a preview of the very next Kamen series that came after Saber, which was Revice, which I've heard was not that good from what I heard. I have not seen it yet, so I don't have an opinion on it. So one guy who saw it, he didn't like it very much. So it's on my list, but it's not very high on my list right now. But I do like the colors. I did see this thing briefly into it because I accidentally watched, because I thought this was the one I was watching was the special one for this part. Turns out it was one of debut Revice, where I saw him basically move around, and he's pink and blue, and Revice is basically two people. It's kind of like Double, except with a demon. Yeah. But the movie itself was fantastic. I loved this movie. By the way, in the case of Reiwa era movies, this is, I believe, the penultimate one for Reiwa. I believe so. Because I think it was there's actually two more left. Yes. Yeah, there are two movies left to go. One is Gojuju vs. Moonmonger. That's another theatrical release movie. And there is one special, Polar Beginning, which is a web special. But, actually, so we have technically two more movies left overall for Reiwa, and pretty much also two more overall left to go for Sentai. Two more theatrical release movies, because there's a couple of for V Cinema. There is about two left per se. Yeah, which I'm very much looking forward to watch this, but not right now per se, but very much looking forward to them. Yep. But yeah, that is pretty much it for a particular video. Please be sure to like, comment, subscribe to notifications. I'll be right back because I gotta move my car. Okay? Thanks, Bye.